Our Supreme Court has a 5-4 conservative majority. It is likely that the next president will get to name anywhere from 1 to 4 justices to the Supreme Court. So if McCain gets elected, what will that mean to us as American citizens? As I said in my response to Sarah Palin's acceptance speech, the Supreme Court ruled last year that the clock starts ticking on the time limit to bring a discrimination lawsuit, not when that discrimination is noticed, but rather when the discrimination started. So if a company hired a man and a woman to do the same job in the company, and 181 days later, that woman determined that her starting salary was $10,000 less, the woman would not be able to bring a discrimination lawsuit, and the company would be able to continue discriminating against her with her having no legal recourse. They could have taken the view that each paycheck was a new discrimination offense, which would leave the door open for her and any others seeking to file discrimination lawsuits against their employers. But no, they slammed the door shut in that woman and every other woman's face. The idea of equal pay for equal work is an idea that is lost on the Supreme Court and on the McCain campaign. In June of last year, Clarence Thomas gave the majority opinion of a case where inmate Keith Bowles had sought to appeal the ruling against him, something that every person has the right to do. The judge was asked what that time limit would be, and he gave a response and gave a date to when they would have to give that appeal. Unfortunately for Bowles, the response was incorrect, and the date given was actually past the last day allowed to file an appeal. So what did the Supreme Court do? They ruled that Bowles should remain prohibited from filing an appeal because of an error that the judge made. Are you kidding me? Another 5-4 decision by this court, and you can guess which 5 ruled against Mr. Bowles. What is worse is that the court used to use the idea of the unique circumstances doctrine in order to make rulings in cases such as these, where there are special situations. Sam, stare decisis alito, I say that because he kept on bringing up the fact that he supports stare decisis during his confirmation hearings, and the rest of his conservative activist judges declared that the doctrine was now illegitimate. So much for stare decisis. Yes, the Supreme Court got it right on some rulings. They got the D.C. gun ban ruling right. And yes, conservatives, Barack Obama agreed with that decision to overturn the D.C. gun ban. They also got the ruling right that allows inmates at Guantanamo Bay to challenge their imprisonment. Yes, conservatives, the Constitution says people have the right to due process under the law. It is not something that is restricted just to citizens. The court did not grant rights to terrorists, as some of the Republican pundits have claimed. It affirmed that all people have rights, regardless of the heinous nature of their alleged crimes. But an increase in conservative activist judges will help to move our country backwards to one that slams the door in the face of those who look towards the government to protect them from illegal discrimination. An increase in conservative activist judges will help to move our country backwards to a point where any increases in civil rights for women, minorities, homosexuals, or anyone else could all go away under the guise of conservatism and judicial restraint. An increase in conservative justices would render the Ninth Amendment moot. See, conservatives will ignore the Ninth Amendment when they say that a certain thing is not a right because it is not listed in the Constitution. I guess their copies of the Constitution omit the Ninth Amendment that states that the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. This basically is a confirmation from our founding fathers that the list of rights enumerated in the Constitution is not an exhaustive one. But Republicans often forget this and will use flawed arguments like the right to privacy is not listed in the Constitution, when the Ninth Amendment clearly contradicts them in that statement. But that just goes to show that Republicans love the Constitution as long as it doesn't get in their way. And yes, while I'm sure that this will make all extremist conservatives tickled pink, a conservative court would move us back to a country of back-alley abortions. People like Palin would ban impregnated rape victims from getting abortions. Some extremist conservatives go as far as to wanting to ban women from saving their own lives with an abortion. And this is why I am confident that at the end of the day, the former Hillary supporters and anybody else that the Republican Party is trying to woo with the Palin nomination will realize that having people in the Oval Office who will fight for women's rights for equal rights is infinitely more important than making history by electing the first vice president who happens to be a woman. And that is why we need to vote for Barack Obama and not John McCain for president